Welcome to Inclusive Voices Media. This is Glendale City Council Candidate Series. Local elections matter because the decisions made at the City Council level directly impact everyday quality of life, from public safety and housing to business development to traffic to parks and, of course, community services. That's why it is so important to stay informed, to get involved, and most importantly, cast your vote. In the interest of keeping our audience informed, we wanted to bring you this very special candidate interview series featuring the people who want to serve on the City Council, on the Glendale City Council. And in the interest of fairness, of course, and equal treatment for all of the candidates, we followed the same protocol for every single interview. All candidates were invited and given the opportunity to select a time slot on the same interview day. Each interview was limited to 10 minutes. All interviews were conducted live to tape. That means we recorded the interviews continuously without stopping, without editing, without retakes, without do-overs. Additionally, every candidate was asked the exact same questions with some follow-ups, and no candidate received questions in advance. Our goal here at Inclusive Voices Media is to provide voters with a fair, transparent, and consistent platform so you can hear directly from the candidates and make an informed decision at the ballot box. Interviews are published one at a time and in alphabetical order. Thank you for watching. Please remember to vote. I'm Silva Harapetian. Welcome to our candidate series where we're talking to the people who are running for Glendale City Council. Today with us is Beth Brooks. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. I have 3 questions. I didn't mean to step on you, but we only have 10 minutes. I want to make sure you have time to answer all of them. Okay, the first question is about housing. Glendale is under increasing pressure from the state of California to build more housing while residents are concerned about traffic, neighborhood character, and infrastructure impact. How would you balance the need for additional housing while preserving the quality of life in Glendale?
Well, I'm a renter. I'm actually a fixed income renter, so I have that as an unusual qualification, I suppose. So this is a real issue for me, given that 63% of the city are renters. But I actually believe that you have to protect single-family neighborhoods. I think that the mandate is crazy. I really do. I think that this mandate is based upon faulty data. I believe that the state can't determine what a city should do. I believe that the city should fight back against this mandate. I believe that, I'm not a doctor, but I believe in 2 medical precepts: triage and the Hippocratic Oath. Triage means you take care of the sickest, the people suffering the most. So first, I believe that we have to vigorously investigate Section 8, because I think that we all know anecdotally there's a lot of fraud. You have to help people who are struggling the most. There are people who need emergency housing vouchers that will be over soon. You help those people first. You help the homeless. You help the struggling people first. As far as encroaching upon single-family neighborhoods, I actually don't believe in that. I believe that building is very, very expensive. If you're going to hear a candidate who's going to promise you affordable housing, it's not going to happen. You're going to hear a lot of promises that are not going to happen. If you repurpose warehouses into condos, that's also not going to happen, because there's a law that says for 10 years you can sue the owner of those condos. So condo owners are really loath to build anything. They would rather build rentals. All the new housing that's being built has actually increased the rents for people, and that's what I'm watching. I get Trulia notifications, Zillow notifications every day, because you're building market rate housing, because building is so expensive. If you want to build, you have to go where it's much cheaper. You have to go where land is cheaper, to less desirable neighborhoods and the South. Coming from New York, everybody knows that. Everybody knows if your neighborhood is too expensive, you move a little bit somewhere else. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear that you just build everywhere. but you can't just build everywhere because that's really going to tax the city in a way that we can't take it. Police, traffic, exactly what you said. So it's something people don't want to, I think they don't want to hear. It's very difficult. It's a nationwide problem, but I do think that unless cities get together to fight the state, nothing is going to happen. And you also have to build where it's cheaper, which means where it's cheaper and cheaper house and cheaper. Smaller triplexes, duplexes. I live in an 8-plex. You have to build smaller so it's cheaper for people, regular people, not corporate developers to build. You also have to protect small landlords, mom and pop landlords. I live in a building from the 60s. If he can't make a profit, he's going to sell the building. And if he sells the building, it's going to go to a corporate developer. You're going to have mass evictions all over the city. So it's really a question of fighting the state in a way that you have to join with other cities so you have more power in that way. And you also make it so that you have media power. Because if you have the state, the Goliath, against David, the cities, it's not going to look good for the state. So even though a lot of city lawsuits have not been successful, you have to do that because it's perception. That perception would force the state to do something.
This leads us to the next question I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't mind kind of answering this within this next question, which is budget.
Yeah.
That's something that we would have to spend money on in fighting the state, right? So
Right.
considering Glendale has been facing significant budget pressures and must make difficult decisions about involving reserves and hiring freezes and deferred capital projects, what are your top spending priorities and where would you reduce costs if revenue continues to decline? And perhaps you can explain how would we pay for fighting the state?
Right. Well, first of all, we would need a land use attorney who's an expert. We do not have experts. We don't have experts in our legal department. I'm very sorry. I go every week to city council. I'm unique in that way, and that's why I decided to run. I go every week. I've been going for almost 2 years, and I see what they spend money on, and they just waste money. A few weeks ago, they spent $25 million on new water meters that weren't broken because 40% of the transmitters are broken, as opposed to spending $500,000 to have human meter readers. And they made fun of me. They said, I'm going back to Bedrock and the Flintstones because I want human meter readers as opposed to spending $25 million. That's crazy. The waste, they have pet projects, they have so many ways that they waste money. It's not funny. It's really disgusting.
Can you tell us any of those pet projects?
Well, that's one pet project. My personal feeling is this: tonight they're going to buy 20 electric buses. Okay? Now, we have to see how they're going to spend the money on that. 20 electric buses we don't need. That need chargers. Okay? That need different. They want to buy different hoods for different shelters for the buses. For what? This is not something the city needs. There are people who are about to be homeless, and this is what you're spending. Look, my personal opinion is I would take a sledgehammer to the budget. I would like a baseline budget where we only spend money on what we need. Potholes or something. I would like to, Section 8 would not be spending, and that's a federal program. So anywhere where we can actually save money, and they spend a lot of money on salaries. They actually do. They have a lot of overtime. They have 28% overtime. That's crazy. Hire people at a regular salary. No, I'm telling you, every week it's crazy. They also don't audit anything. They give 20% overages for contracts, and I'm told, well, that's perfectly normal. Why, 5% is not normal? 10% is not normal? They rubber stamp everything they get, the council. I feel like that. They just rubber stamp what the city manager gets. They get a summary report, staff recommends this, and we rubber stamp it.
So what would be your priorities of spending exactly?
Well, look, you have to have police and fire. That's obvious. I believe that people need roads fixed. I think that that's dangerous. I would like to, permitting. Look, I think we have to work within what the city has. I believe we have to cross-train people also. I would like to see the communications department take on marketing roles. Whatever you could do to not spend money, You have to make sure people are protected. Bike lanes, forget the bike lane. The bike lane situation, if you're going to discuss the bike lanes, is the biggest waste of money I have ever seen in my life. It is dangerous to actually remove a car lane that people need for emergency vehicles. Nobody's coming to you on a bicycle. The police are not coming to your house when somebody's breaking into your house on a bicycle. People need to evacuate in a fire zone. This money has to be stopped. This kind of ideological, political spending, I also believe that electrification, you have to be careful what you're spending money on. And people need to have lower utility bills. People are suffering. People are really, really suffering. Save people money first. I don't believe in the rebates. I don't believe in the rebates. I don't believe that somebody, who has a house, should necessarily get a rebate on an air conditioner, a refrigerator, a stove, while that same money can actually be used for low-income utility customers to get more of a rebate. Right now, they get $35 a month. They should get $45 a month. They should get $50 a month. They can take that same money and spend it that way. I don't think they're careful. I don't think it's actually a moral job in many ways. This is a moral job. I think they see it as an administrative job, that they just take a wallet, and you have to have priorities. It's not, everybody doesn't get the same amount of money. They just had a budget cut of 5% across every department. Why? Why shouldn't that department get 20% cut and this department gets nothing? I don't understand how they determine, because they don't use priorities.
Well, I have a third question, but we're out of time.
I'm ready. Okay.
So, but you did warn me. You said I'm from New York, so
I'm from New York, and I'm very long-winded.
I'm just might be we won't. But I think you touched on it. We talked about mobility quite a bit.
Okay.
So you mentioned some of your ideas involving mobility and what you think about all of that. So we'll have to leave it here. But before we go, I would like you to tell our viewers and readers and listeners where they can find information about you.
My website is bethforglendale.com. I'm on Nextdoor as Beth B. I'm all over Nextdoor. I'm very opinionated. I'm Beth for Glendale on Instagram. I'm Beth for Glendale on Facebook. And I walk around my neighborhood because I don't drive, actually. I don't drive, and I live over here in the neighborhood, and you can see me walking around with my dog.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Silva Harapetian. We'll see you next time.